Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Albina Chuwa, the Director General of Tanzania National Bureau of Statistics. Let me extend my sincere appreciation to the CEO of CPTM Smart Partnership Movement, Dr. Mihaela Smith, for inviting me to speak on data revolution, the role of statisticians globally. Let me start by saying we statisticians globally may have a role to play. I would like to take you back. In September this year, over 100 heads of state met in New York under the umbrella of the United Nations. They endorsed Sustainable Development Goals, which is the successor of the Millennium Development Goals that will end this year. The Sustainable Development Goals have 17 goals, 169 targets, and over 300 indicators. As I'm speaking right now, these indicators, they're in the process of being developed and will be endorsed by United Nations Statistical Division in March next year. It's where all the heads of national statistical office they will meet globally and approve the indicators that will respond to these goals. Now, what is the role that we statisticians we have to play? I remember during the launch, during the endorsement, many slogans came out from that launch, from that endorsement. One being a world that counts. How? I'll give you an example. If you take data, you take data, you combine with media, and the culture of the media to use data will inform decision making. If you take data plus agriculture, you combat hunger. That is goal number 2, no hunger. So you find data is very, very important. Now, if data is very important, then the quality of the data that has to respond to these SDGs has to have a quality that is being required. Now, what should be done? We have learned from the MDGs that there is some gaps, data gaps that do exist. Data production was only left to the national statistical offices to do that. There's no way out that it's the entire government to do the data production. We needed to engage other stakeholders in the system. For instance, in Africa, we have African data consensus, data revolution consensus. It states clearly the role of each individual should have to play in terms of data production. In doing so, I have 5 recommendations or pillars that data revolution has to look into it. Number 1 is to have a global consensus on standards and principles. We need to have that global consensus on principles and standards of data production. Currently, we are using the 10 fundamental principles of official statistics. These are the principles that was adopted by the United Nations Statistical Division, and it is only for the official statistics. And official statistics, these are the statistics that we do produce for the governments, for the planning purposes, to monitor the progress of ongoing national development frameworks. So now, with the SDGs, we have to call upon data communities. Data communities means bringing everybody on board for data production. Now, to fill the gap, as I said, first we need good governance and leadership. We can't run away from the good governance and leadership, both at global level, at regional level, and at national level, and moving a little bit down to the sub-national, to the local government, and the rest. The second one is new resources for capacity development, because time has come, we need to develop our statistician or whoever who is producing these numbers to respond to the MDGs, to respond to the SDGs. We need to establish new stream of funding or resources in general to ensure we have a sustainable resources that will take us up to year 2030 and even beyond that. We cannot leave all this to our government, saying the government has to put resources for the data production. There's no way out. We have to ensure we call upon the private sector, we call upon political leaders, we call upon the political will, decision makers to come on board to ensure new resources, new investment in the data production becomes very, very imperative in order to ensure the monitoring of these SDGs. And thank you, United Nations Secretary General. He said the endorsed SDGs are ambitious. Monitoring is on annual basis. So there is no way out that any government will run out of not soliciting enough resources for the data production and bringing everybody, bringing multiple sources of the data from any angle to ensure we fill the gap and inform decision making. This is number 2. Number 3 is about innovations and technologies. We need to have data production with less cost, cost-effective data production. This is what we are looking for right now. To establish networking of researchers, scientists, engineers, statisticians, to bring the innovations on board. In terms of, for instance, we have to pull a pool of experts to sit down to learn from the traditional way of data production into modern way of data production, with an idea of cost-effective data production. So there is no way, we have to ensure we have that on board. The fourth one is on standards and principles. I've said this, that we have to build on standards and principles. Of course, everybody can produce data, but data has its own principles. There is sample designing, there is definition, nomenclatures, and all these kind of things. Now, it's upon United Nations Statistical Division to liaise with the member states to develop or to enrich the existing 10 fundamentals of official statistics to see how best now they can incorporate the non-official statistics that are coming. Data is data, but we need to derive the information from the data. In doing so, we need statisticians to come on board to manipulate these numbers now. The data which is just a number, is not yet information. So production of these numbers to be information, we need statisticians, mathematicians, demographers to interpret this number in terms of estimation and so on. So standards, principles has to be adhered to. So this again is another milestone that has to be taken on board very, very critically, because there are many sources of data, big data that we are discussing on it right now. There is a mobile technology, mobile financing, all these things are mobile things. So there's no way that we can leave everybody go and collect data and say this is what it is, this world has like this. No, it has to be harmonized and coordinated in a manner that it is acceptable, and the data that is going now to be produced responded to to our development plans that we want to see. Another recommendation that I would say probably is to look at the quick wins of SDGs data. How to establish these quick wins of SDG data? Probably we may think of having a laboratories, just like big results now. This is a Malaysian style of delivery, of service delivery, very quick. So we can also buy in this SDG labs. How? We can establish these labs by pooling a group of experts. We can establish groups of experts at global level, and then we move at regional level, and then at national level. Now, under the labs, we can exhaust more there. One probably is to come up with how data visualization, how are we going to visualize the data? Data analysis, using different methodology, geospatial that has already been endorsed, which is very useful for policymakers to visualize data in that format. Data analysis, data dissemination, data archive, production of dashboards. That is about open data thing, putting the dashboards, pulling data from different sources. That's now open data comes in, where you pull data from everywhere, but with the quality, and then put in the dashboards. And I think in doing so, we will be able to reach where we want to reach by the year 2030. We will be able to inform decision making. Otherwise, we will keep on fumbling around. So these recommendations, or pillars, has to be taken on board. And lastly, let me say, how best are we going to implement all these pillars? To me, I would say, there is no time of starting new things. What we are supposed to do is to implement, is to start where we are now, building from where the National Statistics Office have started, because the system are there. What is required is to improve the existing system and then moving forward by all this good governance, technology, new resources, and so on. In doing so, I hope we will be able to produce data of good quality, and that will inform political leaders. Where are we in terms of monitoring these 17 goals? It's not an easy task. It's a task that everybody has to be out in. As the slogan says, nobody left behind. Everybody should be counted in. So this is my plea that political will has to come on board, private sector has to come on board, everybody has to come on board to ensure we are now moving this world to where we want this world to be by year 2030. Once again, let me end there, and thank you very much for welcoming me to speak these few points, which I hope it will enrich your discussions when we will be discussing about data production and what really I'm thinking as a statistician general who is sitting at the government of Tanzania producing these numbers for our development plans. Thank you very much, and I wish you a fruitful deliberation for your meeting. Thank you.